Hey, how's it going, everybody? Shaun here from Zoobox, and today we're going to be talking about 1994's Neil Jordan film Interview with a Vampire. The Vampire Chronicles, yeah. I guess maybe they thought it was going to be a series. Anne Rice's books, back from the 80s moving forward. I think the first Interview with the Vampire book was written sometime in the late 70s, like 75, 76, something like that. And pretty much since the time it came out, it was kind of very popular. The Vampire Chronicles books were very popular because they're kind of easy to digest, slightly trashy, ephemera. They're easy to read. It's got kind of an interesting twist. The historical angle and going through time, I think, is something people found interesting, right? Like investigating the vampire lifestyle and culture throughout history. And there was always kind of this promise of this deeper mystery. Maybe we'd find out kind of the etymology of where these things come from, where this race or these creatures come from. That's kind of a big through line in a lot of the books, actually. And I've read, I don't know if this is embarrassing or not, but I've read probably 4 or 5 of them, kind of scattered throughout. I obviously read the first book, Interview with the Vampire, because I saw the movie when I was a teenager. And when I was a teenager, actually, I liked the movie. I thought it's like kind of a fun movie. And when you're younger, it's even more, like the earnestness actually works on you a little bit more. As you get older, you start kind of recognizing, oh, this is intense. This is campy. This is camp. Every performance is a camp performance almost. And it's a lot of fun, but we'll talk about that. But yeah, so I liked it when I was a teenager. But I had not seen this movie probably since I was like maybe 18 or 19. Like the last time I watched it, I remember being like, I am done with this for a long time. Because it's one of those things when you're younger and you're a movie fan, like you're just excited to show people the things you're into. So whenever you hung out with a new person, you would cycle them through like the movies you had just discovered that you were really into at the time. And Interview with the Vampire was no different. So I probably saw it like 10, 12 times within like a 2-year period, which is a lot. That's a lot for a movie. Watching it that many times, especially a movie that I liked. Like, it's not like I loved it or it was my favorite thing in the world, but I did think it was interesting at the time. From being a young kid, I was always had a thing for kind of the vampire mythos, and probably starting back in the mid 90s when Sci-Fi Channel used to have like anime Saturdays. On Saturday mornings, they would play an anime film. And one time they played this movie, Vampire Hunter D, which is based off of a series of novels, but it feels very akin to something that you would find in Interview with the Vampire or Castlevania. Castlevania and Vampire Hunter D are more kind of the action versions of this, but they deal with a lot of the same kind of melodrama, same kind of characters. So when it came to actually like watching this movie, I watched it just because of, interest in the general horror stuff, the vampire mythos, like I said. And I've always really liked it. But what do I think about it now in 2020? Now that we're here today, what did I think about Interview with the Vampire after being removed for it 14 or 15 years? You know what? I really enjoyed it. It is, like I said, it has grown over time to be, I think, something of a lost camp classic. I don't think people really think about Interview with the Vampire as a campy movie, but it's a campy movie in the good way because it's made sincerely. And the performances, for the most part, I think there's a few people that actually are kind of in on the camp. Stephen Ray. I think Tom Cruise kind of knows what he's doing in here. Tom Cruise gives a great performance, like a great fun performance. Actually, the weakest link in the movie is Brad Pitt. And from what I understand, performance-wise, he was just so fucking miserable. He even went so far as to try to get out of having to be in the movie. He went to the head of Warner Brothers, David Geffen, I think at the time, who's the guy that basically forced this movie into production. He wanted it to be made so bad. And the guy was like, nah, it'll be $40 million for you to buy yourself out of your contract. And Brad Pitt was like, guess I'm staying in the movie. But yeah, I guess he just had an uncomfortable time. He was kind of miserable the whole time. And I think it shows in his performance. It's very flat. It's very dour, one note, which is not as the character is completely in the novel. In the novel, the character of Louis is more of like an audience avatar. So it is a little lower key than some of the other characters, but It wasn't the same. And but yeah, so I do think it's something that is due for a kind of critical reappraisal, especially after, you know, all the years have gone by and we've all lived through like Twilight and stuff. Like Twilight is never going to, I think, in my opinion, ascend to the quality of Interview with the Vampire. Just Neil Jordan's direction is above and beyond anything that those movies ever had to offer. And I never made it through that whole series because I just, you know, and I never thought it was going to be good. I just watched it in morbid curiosity. I think my wife and I one time watched like the first three. Like we were just bored one night, maybe drinking some wine or something, and we watched like the first three Twilight movies, and we're just like, I can't do this. This is so boring. It wasn't fun. It was just boring. It had nothing. There's just nothing there. It's just bad melodrama. That's all it is. And all the vampire stuff and the mythos is just Anne Rice knockoff stuff, and it's not done as well or as nuanced or as subtle. There's no mystery there. It just kind of spells everything out for you, and it's just annoying. I don't think it's going to have, like, I think this could actually potentially have a second life in the modern era. I really do. This is something that I don't know why there's not like midnight screenings and revivals and that kind of stuff. I feel like give it another 10 or 20 years, and An Interview with the Vampire will be kind of thought of that way. It's such a weird movie, but it's also super faithful to the books. I mean, Anne Rice did the adaptation herself, and it shows because it is, by and large, it is like a truncation and a smart truncation of the novel. It's not trying to do anything different. It's not a capital A adaptation where they completely change things and shift characters around and just use names. No, it's like a straight up adaptation of An Interview with the Vampire, and I think it does a pretty good job. There's, you know, even though it is fun and campy and it has some great gory moments, it has some great horror moments, some great gothic horror feel. Neil Jordan, the director of photography, the set design, like all that stuff works so fucking well, which allows the actors to kind of have fun, it seems like. And that just shows through in the movie and like from top to bottom. I was taken aback by how much I enjoyed the revisit on this. And I was expecting kind of not to like it. That was going in the other night when I watched it. I was like, oh, you know, I like there's this website called HamiltonBooks.com, and they basically are like a liquidation place. And so I got this for like $3, and I was like, fuck it, $3. I'll revisit Interview with the Vampire. And I was not expecting to like it, but just it is made so well, and it has such a unique, interesting kind of vibe to it. You can't help but kind of just have fun while watching it and enjoy it for what it is. Granted, don't go in there thinking that they're trying to sell you like real drama and stuff. You gotta get on its wavelength a little bit, which I think is somewhat intentional and somewhat not intentional. But that's what makes it kind of special. And it's not a movie that's like so bad that it turns the corner and becomes good. No, it's just sincerely like a well-made movie with character arcs that you can track and kind of appreciate. You know, for her credit, Kirsten Dunst, was she like 12 when she made this? She's great in this movie. She's phenomenal. And her character, Claudia, like you can't help but kind of feel bad for the plight of a woman trapped in a 12-year-old's body for all of eternity. It's pretty crazy. And then to see how that she's never even allowed to grow up and like what that does to her psychologically, because these vampires still, while their life paradigm has shifted, there is still a sense of kind of the tragedy of just having to be alive and having to live with your actions and how do you rationalize things and whatnot. So her character's really great. Tom Cruise, like I said, delivers a really fun, great performance of this kind of foppish vampire dude but he's got some teeth, no pun intended. And there's also all this, and I know I think it's part of the novels as well, although I could be wrong. It's been so long since I've read any Anne Rice stuff. I was literally a teenager. But there's like this homoerotic thing that's just seeded throughout the whole movie. And it's like, it's very apparent. It's so apparent that it's kind of like goofy because it's soap opera romance stuff, but with homoeroticism. And it's goofy, but in a way that feels part of the piece. It doesn't feel super distracting or anything. Like, and it's funny too, because it's almost like the movie, you know, came out in 1994. So there's almost like this weird insecurity about it because they do some like intensely homoerotic stuff. And then, like, the next scene, it's like, oh, you know, women, dudes, we're going to eat these prostitutes. They got boobs. We're going to show some boobs. Got to show these breasts. Look at these breasts. Look at these breasts. We ain't no homo. Look at these breasts. It was funny. It's something I just noticed. Like, the more homoerotic it would be, like, it would be it would be couched with a scene that would be or bumped up against the scene that would be like a little more like, yeah, show me some tits, huh? Show me some of them boobies. That's what it, you know. Just an observation, everybody. Calm down. Calm down. Just an observation. It had an interesting kind of production process, though. Like I said, Brad Pitt not super happy. I think it shows in his performance. Tom Cruise was a big controversial casting decision, so much so that Anne Rice, like, openly disassociated from the project. She thought, "Oh, this is awful." Tom Cruise, and I'm trying to think, like, 1994 Tom Cruise. Like, what was her hang up, you know? I guess he was kind of not an up-and-comer. I mean, he's been around since the 80s. What had he done, like, right before this? So he did The Firm, A Few Good Men, Far and Away, Days of Thunder, Born on the 4th of July, Rain Man, Cocktail, The Color of Money. I mean, he actually had a string of pretty solid flicks that generally people like and people liked him in. I guess she just didn't feel like the character and the actor met, and so she actually publicly distanced herself from the project. And then the movie came out, and she loved it so much she took out a 2-page ad in Variety, and she personally handwrote an apology letter to Tom Cruise, which, you know, too little too late, I guess. Honestly, like, if he's already delivered the performance and you've already put that in that dude's head, that sucks. You know, that sucks. Like, oh man, even the writer does not want me in this movie. How are you supposed to give a performance under those circumstances? I'm surprised. Maybe he thought his performance was like a fuck you to Anne Rice, and she ended up really loving it. I don't know, but it was, you know, so it had that going on, and I think it did go a little over budget and a little over schedule. But Neil Jordan, pretty professional director. He's not. I wouldn't say he's completely like a workman-like director. We talk about so much on these daily videos when you know, just guys that kind of jobbers. They show up and they do a job. I mean, at this point, he had done The Crying Game, The Miracle, High Spirits, Mona Lisa, The Company of Wolves. You know, after this, he does Michael Collins, The Butcher Boy. So he's an Irish dude, a little Mick. Most recently, he did the movie Greta, which I've actually kind of wanted to check out because of Isabelle Huppert, the French actress. But he's solid here, and like I said, I think his direction actually is the thing that stops the movie from falling apart. Like, something like this could completely fall on its ass. It could be Twilight. It could very easily be that. And you can see that while you're watching the movie. But he just has everything modulated just so. It has such a unique little flavor to everything, all the scenes and everything he puts in there. And just the concert between him, the production side of things, just like the sets and the special effects and the music. The music is actually, it's got a great score. It has like this fun, whimsical, gothic horror score that I was loving. I was loving while I was watching it. And very pleasantly surprised. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say about the movie. I guess I've kind of covered it. I talk really fast in the morning when I've just had a bunch of caffeine. That's the difference you can tell if I record something in the morning is the light from the window. If you see me recording something at night, usually it takes me longer because I kind of settle in. I have a nightcap and just kind of settle in and just talk to myself for a half hour before bed. So things are a little slower, you know? But, yeah. Look at this I got this quarantine hair, man. This is fucking bananas, dude. Like, I don't want a crazy haircut, but maybe I kept it like this. I got these little wings, you know? It's like in honor of Interview with a Vampire. With these men and their beautiful long hair. Their beautiful hairs. Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, man. Like I said, if you haven't seen it before, or if you haven't seen it in a long time, give Interview with a Vampire a spin. I think go in with the right expectations, though. Don't go in thinking you're going to watch some serious fucking horror movie or whatever. I mean, or historical drama or whatever. It's got its own vibe. It's got its own weird camp vibe that I think put it over the top for me, you know? I'm telling you, get on the train early. We are just a scant few years away from this being some sort of critically reassessed, going to show up in movie theaters at midnight because no other movies are going to be made. They should be showing this right now. That's what the drive-ins around the country should be doing screenings of Interview with a Vampire. And we could all dress up like our favorite vampires from the Anne Rice novels and fop around and almost kiss each other. Only men, though. All the men at the movie theater have to almost kiss each other while they're talking about, like, never seeing each other again. That's what I have. That's my statement. Look at me, good guy Shaun. Very progressive, very moving forward. I'm all about homosexual vampires. I'm all about that stuff. Let the vampires do what they got to do. Don't judge. Anyways, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, everybody. If you'd like to know more about Zoobox, you want to keep up with everything Zoobox, there are a bunch of links in the description for Facebook, for Instagram, for my personal Twitter. Also, if you would like to make a recommendation for these daily videos, leave a comment, and I will put it on the list. Who knows? Maybe it'll even make the big show. Zoobox Goes to the Movies. All right, everybody. You have a good one, and so will I.